Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my studio. I'm broadcasting from my studio in Chesapeake, Virginia, and I'm broadcasting to everyone in the U.S. and around the world. And I'm in the studio today with my wife, Gloria.
Welcome, everyone.
And she'll be monitoring the broadcast and checking the chat room. I'm going to turn the chat room on. Okay. There's a chat room. Leave me some comments and let me know where you're from so we can get acquainted. And if you have a question or a comment, put those in the comments there on the chat room, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Now today we're going to talk about some more about colors. I mentioned last week there's an awful lot to learn about colors. It may take a lifetime to remember or be able to understand and do everything about color. Today I'm going to talk about the complementary colors. And last week I worked with the primaries, and we talked about complementaries a little bit there in that particular painting I did last week. But this week we're going to concentrate on the complementary colors and why they're so important. The complementary colors are opposite in the color wheel, and they actually neutralize each other out and make a gray when you mix them together. Also, they complement each other by in a painting scheme. They assist each other and make the painting more pleasing. And I'm going to talk about those today and demonstrate that in my painting today. So let's go to my painting table and let me get started. Move this over. Light on. Okay. It's very interesting about complementary colors. I researched this week about where did the complementary colors start in the art? When did it start? Well, I found out from my reading that it started about the middle of the 19th century. There was a French scientist, and let me show you. This is his name, M.E. Chevreul. He was a French scientist, and there's his name right there. It's Cheverul, Chevreul, and he was a scientist, and he did a lot of research about colors. And he wrote a book, and it's still in publication, back in 1860. And the name of the book is The Principles of Harmony and Contrast of Colors. And boy, that's just about what I want to talk about today: the harmony of the complementary colors and the contrast. Now, what I did though, I took this information, his name, and I went on the internet and I did a Google search. And I typed in the book. I typed in the Principles of Harmony and Contrast of Colors, and I found the book online. And I started reading it, and it's fascinating. It's really fascinating. He really goes into all the colors. Really, the thesis there that he wrote, the book he wrote, was based on how the eye sees colors, how it interprets colors when we look at art. And what I want to do, let me show you a little bit here of some of the things he described in his book. I'm going to take you over to my close-up camera. Now there's a yellow square here, and what the exercise is a quick exercise. I want you to look at that yellow square for about 20 seconds. Just look at it, just gaze at it, just focus on the color and focus on that particular area. About 15 or 20 seconds. Look at that. Just keep looking at it. Okay, now glance over here to the right where the blank sheet of paper is. What do you see? If you looked at it long enough and straight enough, you should see a faint violet color. And that's a complement of yellow. The complement of yellow is violet. So that's the eye is going to find the complementary color on its own. That's what the eye vision does. That's a phenomena. Let me take it back to my painting table again. So that's one of the fascinating things about and the book goes into describe all that about it's a theory of successive contrast. Today we call it after image, which means if you look at something with a color and you look away, you're going to see the complementary color of that. And I've done that many times. Is look at a color and then look off to a blank wall, and then you'll see the complementary color on the blank wall. So it's a really fascinating subject. Chevreul discovered that the eye seeks a balance by providing a complementary color, the after image. And our Earth is filled with complementary colors. The sunset, we got beautiful dark blues and oranges on sunsets. We have the beautiful violets and yellows at sunsets. So there's the complementary colors right there. And also, when you look at red rocks, say in the desert, you got the red rocks out there in the desert, and you have some greenery around. Those are complementary colors, the red and the greens. So let me give you a couple examples of some paintings. Let's see, where did I put that? I had a couple colors, a couple paintings here. Where did I put it? Oh, there we are. Everybody knows Georgia O'Keeffe. One of her paintings here was a complementary painting. This is the green leaves and the red flowers. The red flower with the green leaves. So that complementary pair there, the green and the red, very beautiful. Another famous artist, Van Gogh. His Starry Night is lots of violets and blues with again yellows and oranges contrast. So this here is a complementary painting scheme. So I'm talking about complementary painting schemes today. Reds and greens. This is oranges and yellows with the blues and purples. Okay, so really, if you look at the color wheel, we have three complementaries. We have the red, several complementaries. You have the red and the green. That's one complementary. We have the oranges with the blues across this way, and then we have the violets with the yellow. The yellow and the violet. So we have everything that's opposite on the color wheel is called a complementary color. And why are they so important? Well, if you take the complementary colors and you put them side by side, like this, say this blue and this orange, you get a very high contrast. So that's why the complementary colors are so important. When they're close together, they're very striking. You see a lot of football teams on the football field have colors. The Broncos have their orange and blue colors. So those colors really stand out. And I see a lot of advertisements with complementary colors, because the complementary colors, when you put them together, give you a very striking example. So that's why complementary colors are very important. Now, let me put the color wheel aside for a second here. This is my reference photo for today's painting. And what I want to do is I want to do a complementary color scheme of this particular view. This is a place I go to quite often. I've painted this building quite similarly, quite often. But what I want to do, I found that this is a gray. And I said, well, I can mix gray. That's what a complementary color does. It makes a gray. So I chose this subject here to mix grays with this particular subject, this building. It also has darks and lights. It has the dark background, which I can put in there. And it has a little bit of dark foreground. And it has a lot of cool and warm. We haven't talked about cool and warm very much. Let's go back here to the color wheel. If I break the color wheel in half and put the red, orange, yellow, orange, and the let's see, I want to put it here. Here we go. Red, orange, right here. If I put, I'll use my pointer here. If I take the color wheel and put it in half, everything, this is red, orange, and this is blue, green. Across from each other, red, orange, and blue. They're complementary. That is really the middle of the value plan and the middle of the value of the colors, red, orange, and blue, green, which I went went through last week. Everything on this side of the color wheel is cool. Reds and yellow, reds and violets and blues. That's cool. Everything on this side of the color wheel is warm. So we have warm colors and cool colors. And also, if you'll see that each one of the contrasts has a warm and a cool. You have a yellow, which is the warm color, and you have the cool, which is the violet, as an example. So in each complementary color, you have the warm and the cool, you have the dark and the light. So there's very, very good examples of a complementary color scheme working together. Okay, so that's why I chose this photograph. It's got a gray in it, but it's also got some darks and lights, and I can use those colors to make this painting. I did a value study. Before I did that, though, number one, I simplified it. This was just too large, so what I did is I cut down the photograph to this portion here, and so this is the photograph I'm going to have for the painting today. This is the photo reference I'm using for the painting. And you've also got little reflections down here in the water. This will be interesting little contrast, but also an interesting shape down. I like this down here because of the shape. The shapes and so forth. The irregular up here, the shapes are pretty straightforward. So the value study after I did a quick drawing of that, I took this and I did a sketch on my drawing pad, and that's when I cut it down to size of the building and the reflection and the background trees. And also, while I was there, I also did a close-up of the reflection. I thought the reflection was very interesting. I was fascinated with the reflection and the shapes and so forth. So I made a close-up of that particular part of the picture. So those are my references. This is the drawing I sketched out on my drawing pad, and then I did a value study. And in here, this is going to be the main interest here of the building, and it's going to have a shadow pattern on it and so forth. And I'm going to have a dark background of the trees, and then the foreground is going to be simplified. It'll be a little lighter because it's number one, it's reflection, but it'll be a little lighter contrast here in the foreground. So that's my value plan. And also, last weekend, as I was getting ready for this presentation today, I also did a on-site or on-location painting here, a little plein air sketch, and I used the colors here of burnt sienna and ultramarine, and you can see the beautiful gray it makes. Mix those two colors together, you get a nice gray. And this is orange and blue. This is orange and ultramarine blue. But I like the ultramarine. I like the burnt sienna with ultramarine blue because it really comes out with a nice gray. This is a mixture here of orange and blue. It gives you gray also. But I like the difference. It's a little darker up here. It's got a little more color that I'm looking for. Little warms and cools up here. So this is really my color plan. Is going to be the burnt sienna and ultramarine blue to get the gray, and I can use the different grays and blues, the cools and the lights in the particular paint. You see, there's a light area down here with the burnt sienna, and there's the cool shadows on the building, and it'll be a cool and warm in the background. That's an interesting thing about a complementary color scheme. I can make it a cool or a warm painting just by changing the value or changing the color. Here's burnt sienna and ultramarine blue in full color. You can see how bright they are side by side, and that's why that's why I want to show you why the contrast between burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. They're very striking. But as you water them down, you can get a nice color combination. Now here, there's two combinations. I got a cool gray, got a little more blue in it, And here I got a warm gray, a little more burnt sienna in it. Give me a warm. And I use that up here in this particular study plan, a little color study. I did a warm contrast and a warm complement here with a cool complement in reflection. And down below, I did another little color study using mainly the blue. Make it a cool contrast. I used the gray on the building, but then I used the ultramarine blue as the cool color. So I can make it a cool dominant or a warm dominant painting. So there's a couple ideas that I had to get started. Let me move these aside. And I don't need the sketch. This sketch and the photograph. The sketch and the photograph will be in my Fun with Watercolors page on Facebook, and it'll also be on my internet. So you can download that. I'll have a link to it on the video description today. Look in the video description. You'll find a link to the sketch and to the photograph. Okay, and I transferred that sketch here to a quarter sheet of Gemini watercolor paper. I've got a tape down here so I can go ahead and paint on it. So I'm going to. These are some of the color studies I did. I did quite a few examples here of mixing the grays, and I got down into the warm grays using the burnt sienna and also ultramarine blue. So those are some examples there of. I'm going to use this as my sample sheet here also. So my equipment today, I'm going to be using ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, those two paints, and they're Holbein artist watercolors, those two paints. And I'll be using the Gemini 140-pound cold pressed watercolor paper, and I'll be using Holbein watercolor brushes also on the painting. And all these are available. All these supplies are available on my website, www.everettswatercolors.com. So those are colors and the description of the paper and my website. I'll put that aside. Okay. Put this over here. All right. So what I'm going to do first of all, I'm going to mix up my colors. And I'm going to be using the Holbein 3/4 inch brush. And I'll be using the 1/2 inch Holbein brush, flat. And I've got the number 8 round Holbein. Those are all synthetic brushes. Then I have a natural hair. I have a quill from Silver Brush. It's a quill brush. I'm going to be using that also today. So those are the 4 brushes I'll be using. Okay, so first of all, I wet up the palette. And I'm going to mix ultramarine up here at the top. So that's my ultramarine color started. Now rinse out the brush because I'm going to change colors. Here. Wet the palette. I'm going to bring in some burnt sienna down here at the bottom. Okay, you can see the difference of the colors, the blue, and they're really side by side. They really make a dramatic color scheme here. So then when I mix them together, I start getting a gray. They neutralize. So the neutralizing the color between the ultramarine and burnt sienna. So I have the mixtures here in the middle. And then I can start out with a color test here. You see that's quite dark there, and then I can lighten it up as much. It's a little bit warm. I can add more burnt sienna to it and warm it up. or I can add a little bit of ultramarine to it, and I can cool it down. So I have control over how I want to show the colors by adding the complement. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the building. I'll start with the building. I'm going to have I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in I'm going to have a warm background because the sun was shining that day, and I had the sun on the rooftop. So I'm going to have a warm rooftop. Test that out. I'll make sure it's light enough. It's also the rooftop is also the sun is coming this way. The rooftop is light. It's a light value, but it's also a warm. It's a warm gray. I'm adding more water to it. So I'm going to start there with this color. So it's warm gray now. The rooftop is this is the rooftop in the sunlight, and also over here the front of the building was also in the sunlight because the sun was coming this way. So the front of the building was showing up in the sunlight. I'm going to paint that a little light. I added just a touch of water to it. I'm using the 3/4 inch flat Holbein brush, and it gives me a nice sharp edge. Now, also as you put the paint down, you also realize that it's going to dry a little lighter. So this will be a light gray when it finishes drying. And I'm using the edge of the brush here, the corner of the brush, to mark the edges and so forth. Okay. All right, now the rooftop over here, this rooftop on here, it's a little bit darker because this one's more in direct sunlight. Just a little bit, so I can vary the value of that. So I'm going to put a little bit more brown mixture in that. Make it a little bit darker up here. It's not that much darker, but it's not direct. It's not in the direct sunlight. It's got a reflection off of the trees and so forth, and it's also not directly in the line of sight with the sun rays. So it's a little bit darker color. Okay, so we'll let that dry. I may have to go back in and put a little more value into that one. Okay, now as far as the building itself, it's in shadow, and it's also got it's also cool. So I'm going to mix here a cooler mix of burnt sienna and ultramarine. So this is going to have more blue in it. And I'm going to paint this right across here. So this shadow of this building now, it's a white building. But I'm making the colors up here with the complementaries that I want. So I'm putting the colors. This is a cool gray, a mixture of ultramarine and burnt sienna, and it's got more ultramarine in it to give it a blue color. Okay, bring that on out, and we'll let that dry. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put the dryer on. I want that because it's a little bit damp. I'm going to dry it up a little bit. So what I've done is I've put the color mixture, a warm gray on the rooftop and the front of the building, and I've made a cool gray on the side of the building, away from the sun. I'll check the back of my hand. Okay, it's pretty dry. Okay. All right, now there's a large row of trees in the background here. Now the sun was shining on the trees, so I'm going to make that also warm, but I'm going to make it much darker. So I'm going to add a lot more pigment now to the mix. Add more blue, more burnt sienna, make a nice dark. It's almost going to be almost black. It's going to be so dark. And what I think I'll do is I'll start with the two brushes. I'll start with this one first to get around the building. And here's where I can carve out the building a little bit. I get there, the rooftop here. And you can see how much darker this is. It's a much darker value than the building. So it's going to make that grays pop out on the painting. I'm going to turn it around a little bit so I can get the edge of the brush here. Turn it around so I get the edge in here to get it straight. Nice thing about this flat brush is it gives me a nice sharp edge. Okay. So this color now, I'm mixing in a little bit more burnt sienna because I want it dark, but I also want it to be warmer. So I put a little bit of burnt sienna in there to warm it up. So it's got a warm color to it, but it's a dark value. So I'll go along and get the edge of this building here real carefully, real easily. This is a dark brown that signifies the value of the trees in the background, and the temperature is warm, so I make them add a little bit of burnt sienna to give it a brown, warm mixture. Now I'll get the other side of the building here. Then we go pretty quickly after that. These edges, I'm just trying to make careful to keep the building nice and clean. I get one more side over here. Okay. Now I think I'll take the mop brush. I'll take the mop brush and finish the trees off. So I'm going to go ahead and mix that color up again with the mop brush with a dark brown. And I'm going to go back in and put in the edges of these trees with a mop brush. And there was a little tree line over here, just for variety. Make the tree line a little different over here on the edge. I'm going to keep that value dark, so I'm going back in and putting in more pigment. But I want to keep it on the warm side, so I'm putting more burnt sienna into it to keep it on the warm side. Just to give a little bit of interest up here, I'm just going to put an edge on this trees just to give it a look of a tree line. These are background trees behind the building. But you can see how that dark value brown mixed in with the blue gives me a nice background to show off the lighter gray on the building. Okay. All right, now I want to go down and work on the reflection. So what I'll do now, the reflection is not, it's going to be the same colors, but they're going to be a little bit paler, a little bit lighter. So I'm going to use the blue-gray mix, but it's not going to be as defined. So the blue, I'll put this in here. This blue-gray. This is a reflection, so it's not going to be well defined. It's just going to have irregularities. Will it look like moving water? This is a reflection of the shadow side of the building. Okay. Then the warm side of the building will be, again, it'll be a little warmer, a little more warmer mixture. Be a little bit more burnt sienna over here to show the warmth in the reflection. So it's just a little bit of color change. Values, darks and lights, and then adding in the temperature changes of the warm and cool of the color. Now I'll get the darks in now for the reflection of the trees. It'll be a little bit darker than that building color, but not as dark as the actual trees in the background. So it'll be like a medium value. I'll rub this with my fingers. I don't want an edge on here, so I just added a little bit of touch with my finger to blend those two colors together. That's all I did. This tree line comes up here a little bit. This is a reflection, so it's not an exact copy of what's above, but it's just a symbol showing that there's a reflection here in the water. And a little bit of the treetops over here on this side. And then we get a little bit of dark down here from the reflection of the above. Okay. All right, now some more colors we can put in here now. What I've decided, there's a in the building, if you look at, there's a dark area right along here, right at the base of the right next to the water. There's a dark area, so I can put that in. I'm gonna need another darker color, so I'll mix some more of that burnt sienna with the ultramarine blue to give me a dark brown. I'm going to go in there, and this is more like the edge of the water here, like the bulkhead along the edge of the water. It has some wood there, some piling, but it's the bulkhead that runs along the edge of the water. Make it look like a reflection, whereas be some colors that are moving around with the water flow. Okay, now I'm going to use a smaller brush now. I'm going to pick up just burnt sienna now, and what I'm going to do, there was some grass in the photograph. You'll see the grass, the green grass here. It's actually a yellow grass. I'm going to use the burnt sienna for that color. I only have two colors to work with, the complementary, so I'm going to use the burnt sienna as my grass color. So I'm going to go in here and put that burnt sienna in here, light, it'll be a light value. So this will simulate the color of the light grass. I'll bring it right on down. I better dry this off a little bit before I go any further. Let me dry that bottom off. All right, let me turn the dryer on. Okay, I put in the reflection with the same colors, a little bit lighter value. And then I put in a dark mix here along the bulkhead here, along the edge of the water. It's a lot thicker paint there, a lot darker paint to do that bulkhead. And now I'm putting in a lighter value of just burnt sienna to show the light color of the grass area. So I'm using the lighter color here to show the grass. So this is the grass color. I'm not worried about being a color green or whatever. This is my interpretation with a complementary color scheme of putting a color in here that would be believable as a light value of that area. I'm using this half-inch flat brush from Holbein, which does a nice job for a small space, small area. Yeah, that grass came right down to the edge of the bulkhead, so I put that just like that. Okay. I'll let that dry. Now, while that's drying there, I'm going to go ahead and put in some more detail in the building. The building's nice and dry. This little rooftop over here is, I'm going to differentiate just a little bit. So I'm going to put a little more color, take a little more of that darker color. I don't want it too dark. And I'm going to define that rooftop a little bit because it's not in shadow, but it's not in direct sunlight. So I'm going to put a little bit of color there, a little bit more darker color there on this rooftop here to separate it from the front of that building. Just a little hint there that that's a different part of the structure. Okay, the rooftop. This rooftop's in sunlight. This part here is in sunlight. This is in shadow down here. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and start adding in some of those all these windows here, just for a little decoration now. So I'm going to take just take a little darker color. I'm going to take a dark mix of ultramarine or sienna, and I'm going to go in here and paint in these the window here with a little divider. So I have 2 panes of glass here on this little window. So I'll put that like that. And then there was a 3 over here. So this one had 3. So I'll put that in. It has had 3 window panes. That's what I liked about this particular building. It has a interesting design here of a variety of shapes here for the windows, which lends itself to a painting, a nice painting. And then I have the doorway here, the doorway to the building, which is another shape, another interesting shape. Again, when you're painting something, making art, you're looking for interesting shapes. This one, and again, it was a single. This is a single window over here, and it gives me the variety. And then I have one more window over here. This is a double. So the building really led itself. It gave me an opportunity to have a 3, a 1, and a 2. So there was no duplication there of the types of windows or number of windows. Okay, now I'm going to paint in. I'm going to paint in the shadow underneath this roof. So I'll use a mixture of the same mixture, burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. Give me a shadow color. And I'm using the number 8 round brush. I'll go back to the flat. I'll get a nice sharp edge here. Now, these reflections are also down here in the water. So I'm going to take a little bit of this water, take a little bit of this lighter mix here, and I'm going to put these same shapes down here in the water. And this line across here will be a broken line showing the shadow under the roof there, the rooftop. Okay. And there's one other shadow that's here important. This one here is the shadow on the edge of this rooftop over here. The shadow goes back there. And there's a little undefined section. This building kind of has a different shape here, but I'm going to put this little section in here, just show a little recess. This goes back behind the other building, the other section of the building. I'm going to lift a little bit of it off. There. Okay, perfect. Okay. Now, what I want to do now is I'm going to add, with the sun coming this way, there's a shadow on the ground. So I'm going to take some of this burnt sienna, mix a little bit of blue into it, and give me a dark brown. And I'm going to paint in the shadow pattern here. there's a shadow pattern here from this building cast along here. Okay. Okay, well that's got most of the ingredients I want to show. Now the only thing I left is the sky. The sky is very simple. So let me show you how I did that. How I'm going to do that. I'm going to take the flat brush. The sky was a little bit. It was blue that day. A little bit of blue sky. A little bit overcast, but blue. And what I'm going to do is to take this mop brush. Make sure it's clean. So I just want water in it. Just want water in the mop brush. Think about when you make a change, when you make a color change, you want to make sure there's no residue of color in the brush if you're going to paint another area, especially in the sky. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to I'll drop some water on my paper here, so pick it up real quick. There we go. Okay. All right, so load the brush with water, and I'm going to go paint along the side here. I'm going to paint, just wet the paper is what I'm doing, just wetting the paper. Be easier to put the color down, a little faster to put the color down. So just wet the paper up here for the sky. Okay, then I'm going to take a little bit of, let me spread it out just a little bit. Dirty brush here. I got so much brown and blue in my brushes that I got to keep them clean. So I'm doing, I'm spreading that water out to make sure I get a nice flat wash up here of just water. Okay, then I'll take a little bit of that ultramarine blue, just a little bit of blue, and I'm just going to put that up here on the top. Just going to put a little bit up here, little color of blue, just a hint. That was not a hint. That was too much. Just add more water to that. Wipe off the edge here. Give me a blossom. Okay, then I'll take my brush and just feather that, just a clean brush, and feather that down and over the trees. Bring that color down a little bit. The trees are dry, so I'm not going to disturb the color there. I'm just going to bring the color down a little bit. Okay. All right, then I'm going to do the same thing down here at the bottom. I'm going to wet the sky. Reflection. And then take a little bit of that ultramarine blue. Reflection in the water. And then we'll just take just plain water in the brush and feather that down a little bit also. Bring that sky color right down in, because the sky was reflecting off the water. So just by picking up some of those whites, a little bit of white spaces. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see. I pretty well finished all what I wanted. This is a demonstration. I'm going to show you another painting what I did, which I did had a little more time to do it. But we put in the warm gray here to show the warm gray on top of the sunlit rooftop and the sunlit four wall of this building. The face of the building was in the sun, and then we showed a little bit of little cast shadow back here on this rooftop, and then we showed the shadow, which was a cooler shadow, a little more blue in the shadow down here to show a cool shadow color on the front on the this part of the building here. Then we did a dark brown because with the sun shining, the trees were really lit up with sun. So I made that a warmer dark in the background. It was a dark background, but I wanted warmer to simulate the fact that we got sun shining in that area. And then I did a reflection. I used the same colors, a little bit less definition and a little lighter in value, but to give the impression of the reflection into the water with movement. Then I added just plain burnt sienna, a little bit lighter here on the ground here to reference the ground, which would be either grass or weeds or something here in front of the building. And then I finished off with putting in a blue sky with a little bit of water and washed in a little bit of ultramarine on top of that. So you really see I used pure ultramarine in the sky. I used pure burnt sienna in the ground, but everything else was a mixture of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue to give me gray, to give me a dark brown, or in the areas in the windows here, almost make them black by making the same mixture. And the bulkhead here was also dark, using the mixture of brown and blue. Okay, let's put a mat around that. Put a mat around it, and mat could be a little bit bigger. It'll show if you want to show more of the sky, move the mat up. If you want to see more of the water, you bring it down a little bit. Okay, well that's matted. Okay, so that completes the demonstration. Now let me show you the one that I did earlier. A little bit larger. This is a full quarter sheet. This is a full quarter sheet of the same painting. You see here, I followed basically the same steps on this one. Of the lights and darks of the browns, the light brown on the rooftop, a very light brown on the front of the building here, and then a cool blue gray in the shadow. Then I put the dark brown in the background to show off the lighter colors of the building. Then the reflection, I used a duller value down here in the water to show reflection. This is sharper. This is duller as far as reflections go. Then I painted in the ground the same way here, and it showed the little shadow pattern here along the building. And then putting in the windows and the reflection, and then finished off with the sky. So I think it turned out really good. I really think it turned out. This was a really good exercise in complementary colors and color mixing, just using two colors, ultramarine and burnt sienna. What it does, you get most of the contrast is when they're side by side, the oranges with the blues. They get a nice contrast. The intensity and the vibration of those two colors make your eyes really look at that. In this particular painting here, I would say the dominant color is really the burnt sienna. They have more brown in here. The subordinate color is the blue. There's less blue in here. I need blue in the mix, but you can see there's more brownish glow here and more brownish glow on the ground and in the background also. When you want to put colors to create a harmony here, I think the harmony is by putting different colors. For example, this blue mixed in with a little bit of brown or burnt sienna, and the blue down here mixed. This here wasn't a pure blue; it mixed in with a very light value of burnt sienna. So it gives you a harmony here of the two colors. And that also is an advantage of a complementary color scheme. Well, my tip of the day then would be to study nature and discover its complementary colors, because these colors here weren't exactly like the photograph, but I wanted to use the gray opportunity of the gray building and to paint the gray building, but also use the complements to show the contrast of the gray, the darks and the lights, and the warm and the cool. So that was really the demonstration today, was to come up with that color combination of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. One of my favorite mixes. That's one of my favorite gray mixes. Let's take you over to the main camera. Hi. Well, I really enjoyed doing that one. The complementary color scheme is something that's sometimes it's not easy to find the right complements that you want to use, but going to the color wheel and then practicing the mixes and so forth, and taking a photograph or a picture and then coming up with a color scheme that would match. And really, I guess the secret would be to look at the warm and the cools. Make your warm color in your light area and make your cool colors in the darks. And I think that works out. That's what I tried to do. I put the warm colors in the sunlight, and I put the cool colors in the shadows and in the background. What I'd like to have you do is sign up to my Facebook page and download that photograph and download that sketch and try out this complementary color scheme and post it on my my Fun with Watercolors page. It's down here. I got it down here at the bottom of my post here. Oop. The Fun with Watercolors page is right there at funwithwatercolors.com. But my the Facebook has it here. It's facebook.com where it's Everett's Watercolors Art Group. It's on Facebook. There's the link right there. Now the download is here with Fun with Watercolors page. You go to my website, and there's the link right there. And you can go to my website and go to classes to find the video that we did today. And all my classes are on that particular website page. So I appreciate you looking in today. Give me a like and some thumbs up, and give me some comments of what you think about today's program. And I'll be back again next week on Thursday at 2 o'clock. And next week's kind of special because it really, I think back, it is the beginning of my second year of broadcasting. I've been on every week for 52 weeks, giving about a 1 hour presentation. So I think this one really concludes the 1 year. I'll double check my dates on that, but I think next week I start my second year. So I appreciate you giving me some comments of what you think, what you like, and give me some ideas what you'd like to see down the road. So I'll see you next week on Thursday at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Goodbye for now, and I'll have a happy painting